You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about how friendship is the best ship. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Maddie K. Stormageddon.
Today we're finally cleaning up Liam's mess with the help of Sarah.
Hi.
Hi, welcome, Sarah.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, we're so happy to have you.
You were literally one of the first people when we announced we were doing Andromeda. You were like, oh my God, Liam, I need to do it. I was like, you clearly have a love for this character.
Oh, I love him. And just replaying through this has just reignited my love. Reignited my love for him so much. Like I just thought I could go on for forever and ever.
Well, to start, why don't you tell the folks, the listeners, a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a freelance writer. I mostly cover MCU and like other nerdy topics like that. I'm also a disability advocate for the games industry.
Heck yeah.
It's a fun time.
Awesome. Yeah, that's not a difficult or challenging thing to do at all.
Right?
No, not even a little. And so obviously you're here to talk about Andromeda, but give us just a little brief history of your time with Mass Effect, how you first got into it, and then kind of talk about your journey into Andromeda.
Yeah, wow. I think I was in middle school when Mass Effect 2 came out. I just aged myself completely. And I
feel
I
old.
think you
It's
aged
fine.
Matt more than you aged yourself.
Yeah, accurate.
Yeah. It was the first Xbox 360 game that I got above 1,000 achievements in because I was like so addicted to it. I did all the loyalty, everything, and I adored that game. But the one thing that stands out is because I was a kid, I didn't know any better. I got the worst ending possible. So everybody died. Poor Joker just walked out at the end. I was like, I fucked up. And that's the first time I ever just like went back instantly. As soon as I beat it, I went back and restarted everything and did everybody's loyalty. And that just stood out to me so much. And when Andromeda came out, I actually took the day off of college because I was in college at the time. I took the day off of classes and just sat in my dorm and just played Andromeda all day.
Amazing.
But I've played all of them. I recently replayed through one because of the Legendary Collection because I never got a chance to play one. And I loved it. I was like super, like, Caden will always have my heart. And so I was like, this is fantastic. I love this. I can't believe I never even like beat this as a kid. It was just a whole thing.
Always fun to have a fellow Caden lover on the pod.
I love Caden. I was the first advocate for Caden on our podcast.
It's true.
Good. I am so happy to be in your guys' presence then because I met his voice actor and I cried to him. So
Aww.
there's always that.
Adorable. Adorable. So talk a little bit about specifically, before we get into the summary of this mission, like why you wanted to do Liam's mission. What about Liam why do you like this character?
Yeah, why do you like this character?
I mean, he's terrible. No, I'm kidding.
I'm just going to have to condense this because I'd be here forever. I've always just kind of loved, Ashley not included, I've always just kind of loved the like humans of the Mass Effect series a lot. And I think Liam just kind of was in that kind of spacefaring, like fantasy stereotype that I'm just like super into. Just the whole like, oh, I'm here to help the galaxy and like build it for humanity. And it's going to be great. I'm going to be silly and shirtless 3/4 the time while I'm doing it. And actually, the one reason why I was super in love with them, because I went to film school. So I was going to college and film school when this came out. And the fact that he sends you like movie playlists in his emails hit me so close to home. And I was just like, this is amazing. And I honestly think what got me in love with him was the dialogue choice you get with him when he's with Jaal and they're just butt ass naked, comparing muscles. And my writer was just like, I don't know what I just stepped into, but I'm not going to say no to it. That's it. I'm like, that's why I'm purely in love with this man. And also he's just really sweet. Like his whole romance is just like, I'm such a sucker. Like just like, especially that email where he's like, writer, I don't have any other words and they send you playlists of like first love films. And I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, okay,
it's pretty
fine.
gay, Liam. It's pretty gay.
I honestly, it can just boil up to I'm a sucker for the type of character that Liam is.
Yeah.
And like, and I do get laughed at for it. I'm like, you have all these aliens and you went with the one human. And I'm like, but I mean, trust me, Jaal's a very close second, but
honestly, For me, I would classify Liam as like Garrus if he were a brat.
That's a good comparison. Yeah, I can see that.
Oh no. I mean, that's not wrong now that the game's so fresh in my head. It's not wrong. But like a part of me's just like, but that's okay.
It is okay.
Amazing. Well, we're going to get into more about Liam in this mission in just a moment. But before we get to that, Frankie, why don't you read the summary of this mission?
Okay, fine. We'll go help Liam. This plan is a mess from the beginning, starting with a classic Trojan horse gambit, which lands us in a giant cat ship. Fortunately for us, the ship is falling apart and is run incompetently by pirate leader Khallet, an Angaran who is determined to gain some respect in this galaxy. He has kidnapped initiative colonists already, but not for ransom. He needs them and Varan's crew to keep his flagship running. Through mishaps and an extremely lucky streak, the team makes it through to confront Khallet.
Here's my biggest problem with this mission, and it has not a lot to do with Liam. For a little context for Sarah, the listeners know that Liam and I got off on the wrong foot. In that very first mission that you do with him, when he puts bullets into a dead cat on the ground and like loses his mind, rightfully so, he was angry, but it felt very militant. It felt very disrespectful. It was just kind of really rough. And so I didn't love him at first, and I warmed up to him as we had more conversations, but I'm still kind of in between on him as a character. But my biggest issues with this mission aren't the character. It's the writing and the mechanics. So the platforming in this mission sucks, flat out. It's bad. Most of the game, the platforming's actually been pretty fun. But like here, not all the boxes line up right. It's hard to always get on some of the ledges. It was just a mess. And then the writing, this wants to be like a buddy cop film, which I respect. I think that's a fun tone. The problem is, this tone has almost been nowhere in the entire game. And that's really weird to me. Some of this comedy has been there, but like the 90% of this mission is a comedy. And if it were like a one-off, like longer form mission, maybe, but for this like small loyalty mission, it just felt out of place. I didn't hate it. It just was odd. I had to kind of get with the program. But once I did, I enjoyed it. It was still a fun mission, but it was just, those two things felt very strange to me.
The platforming's awful. Like I don't know if it's just the way that the game's physics is. And as I was like playing the game and commentating to a friend of mine, I explained to them the whole like, oh, they didn't want to use this engine. They were pretty much forced to, so I can see why this has problems, so I can look past that. But it's just, why would you base an entire mission about the jumping that's just awful throughout the whole game? And it also messes with my vertigo kind of, which is not fun.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so I was just very awkwardly the whole time, like trying to get through it as fast as possible and like killing stuff as fast as possible. So I was like, okay, can we please get to the right way the ship is supposed to be, please? So I'm not getting sick every time that we move it and getting caught on the geometry, which I almost had to restart like 2 times because I got caught. And I pretty much had to like bang my controller against my face to get myself out.
I really appreciated that this mission did feel like a buddy cop movie because that's Liam's love language, first of all. Second of all, it speaks to the kind of person Liam is. And Liam's whole thing is kind of an identity crisis. His whole thing is you take a risk for the right reason. And it works out. It has to work out. I cannot conceive a world in which doing the right thing does not work out. Because he's an idealist, because he's a kid, because he's a little bit of a brat.
Yeah.
And he wants the happy ending.
Yeah. That's fair.
Frankie, I love the way that you think.
I mean, it's fair. I think that I enjoyed the comedy. They were never, but some of them were like almost fourth wall breaking, which again, I think is smart writing, but just felt out of place because we hadn't really seen anything like it before. There's a specific moment when we get to the section of the outline that says introducing that asshole. That whole moment is very funny, but so weird. But before we get to that, so Liam's brilliant idea when we arrive is to hide in debris so the scavengers find us. First of all, Frankie, who did you bring besides Liam?
I brought y'all.
Sarah, who did you bring besides Liam?
I brought y'all too.
Amazing. Good thing that I changed it up and I brought Cora this time. Had a full Hume squad this time. And so we hide.
I'm sure Korra loved every second of it.
Oh, she spent 90% of this mission just being annoyed, and it was actually pretty funny. But like, so Liam's plan is to hide inside a shipping container, and like, he's boasting about this plan. He's like, it's like, you know, the Trojan horse strategy. You can't lose. And my favorite thing is that after he says that, Korra goes, Troy didn't have to worry about if there was air, though. Which is like, fair point.
For us, Jaw goes, "What's a horse?"
Yes, he does ask what a horse is.
He goes
But
like,
then
"Fair
he does
point."
also ask about air.
But what's a
That's
horse?
true. You do not know what a horse is.
Which
That's
is-
great.
Perhaps we should have done a history lesson first.
Yeah, I think bringing Jaw is like one of the fun points because he's just constantly annoyed by everything to begin with. Like throughout the entire game, my team is Jaw and Liam, and they're like back and forth to some of my favorite things in the whole game. So just like hearing Jaw be like, "All right, I'm done." Like, how long are we gonna be here? Just the whole time with like Liam's like, "We'll get this done. We're gonna do it. We're gonna save everybody," and Jaw's just in the corner, just like, "I didn't even ask to be here." Like. It's so much fun. I think that's what kind of made the comedy a little bit better for me with that start of just what's a horse, and I'm like, oh great, it's gonna be fantastic.
Especially since Liam and Jal do have that relationship and that we've
Yes.
seen it in the past.
Yeah,
So
that's
maybe
true.
if you had brought Jal or even Drac, it wouldn't have felt so jarring to you because you know what Jal and Drac are like. You know how they interact with Liam or how
Right.
they interact with other people in general.
Yeah, I think mostly for me I was caught off guard by it. Again, I don't think it was bad. I just wasn't expecting it to be this goofy. There have been plenty of goofy moments, some self-made.
It's that Korra and Liam are from different movies.
Yes, that's very true.
Liam is Lethal Weapon, and Korra is something dramatic that I don't know because I'm not good at movies. I don't.
I found the
Mission
the funny
Impossible?
thing-
Is that not that funny? I don't know.
They're not that funny, but they're action movies. A for effort.
I do have to agree with the idea that this whole quest sort of brings in the fact that Liam's love for film, because you have so many different genres in this with just with the buddy cop, and you have the slapstick comedy that happens like so much at the beginning. Not really at the
Yeah.
end, but like at the beginning where they're like shutting off at every time Collet tries to speak.
Yeah.
I
And he's
do
like,
love
just
that.
let me speak. Just bam, like, no, we're not done arguing. I think that's just the film student in me though. I just love how they pay tribute to like all these different types of film genres just because this one nerd over here just loves like old ancient Earth films that
Yeah.
he just wanted to be in one so bad. I think that was why I kind of loved the comedy as much as I did. Just because honestly for me, it was because it was so out of place. The whole time it's like, oh, we gotta save the human colony. We need to find Earth a home, and then all of a sudden you're being like sucked into space, and Ryder's like, Liam, hold me. Like,
I do like bringing Vetra on this mission sometimes because during that scene, if you do choose to say, Liam, hold me, Vetra says, I wish I could shoot both of you right now.
Yeah,
That's a mood.
it is a mood. So before we get to them being sucked out into space, so we'll talk about the moment that Sarah just mentioned. So you get abducted and you find out that, oh, you're not in a weird little scavenger ship. You're actually in a giant cat ship. And now Ryder is really mad because Ryder's like, this, Liam, what the fuck? What's happening? And
I
Liam's like,
do love the string of alarms, Liam. I know. Alarms,
Alarms.
Liam.
it's so good. And then we get yelled at by Callet for the first time. There's this dramatic music playing as the villain's talking, and then he screws up whatever he's trying to do and disappears for a bit. And then when he comes back, it's in the middle of a conversation between Liam and Ryder, and they keep hitting the console and make him
Wait,
disappear.
I have a question.
Yes,
Did you take the Star Wars quote?
I didn't
Yes.
take the Star Wars.
I
quote.
did. I totally did. It was amazing.
I did too. It was very good.
But when they're arguing, the dramatic music that was playing before plays every time the video would show up, and every time it shut off, it would disappear.
Yeah.
And so that was the first moment I went, what is happening here? Where am I? Is this a Deadpool movie? I don't get what's happening. It was just
So
very,
good.
very breaking the fourth wall, but very fun. And then eventually we hear from Callet, who is this big shot, scavenger who like has this flagship and is forcing everyone to build it for him and clearly has his head up his own ass and has no idea what he's doing.
My favorite thing about this ship is that he took it so that way he didn't have to be a scavenger anymore. But to keep it running, he has to still be a scavenger.
Yeah. Yep.
My man, that is a bad investment.
It also just follows the whole like comedy, like buddy comedy film where like the villain's either super duper evil or is hilariously evil, and we're just on that other side of the spectrum where he's like, I have this big giant plan and it's going to go great, and it's like, oh, I literally need to capture people to make sure my ship works, so the plan works at the same time. And it's I feel bad. I couldn't really take him seriously because of it, but I was like, that's what makes it so much fun.
Khaled is an absolute garbage person.
Yeah, a complete idiot and a complete villain, like gloriously stupid and evil at the same time, which is, I think, what makes him so fun. And so there's a bunch of fighting here, and then eventually Khaled's fed up, and so he just vents the entire chamber. And as you're hanging on for dear life, you have an option to ask Liam to hold you, or just to kind of scold him for, like, you could just tell him that you hate this plan, which is the option I took. And when you say, I hate this plan, Liam goes, me too. And Cora goes, thirdsies. So good. I was like,
it's very good. I did ask Liam to hold me, and Jal was unimpressed.
Yeah, I mean, I was romancing him. It felt right.
That's true.
Yeah.
I am an asshole, so
that's also true. Yeah. And then it is in this moment that we find out, that August Bradley, is here to rescue us, along with a bunch of other engineers and shuttles. And so Liam reaching out to them happens to pay off. And it's funny because when you talk to August Bradley, he too was confused why Liam asked them for help, which I think is the best part. And then he's like, but we realize, like, with a ship like this, we're a bunch of engineers. We can help with this. This thing's a piece of shit.
We've got engineers, son.
It's so good.
I love you, August Bradley.
It's very cavalry. It's very kind of like, cavalry riding to the rescue, Lone Ranger kind of thing. It's just very good. It's a very fun moment. And then, of course, they use their engineering skills to close the doors, but also the ship kind of just flips, like the gravity turns off and you fall to the ceiling. It was disorienting, but also very funny.
How much did you love Sam trying to be helpful and saying, walls are not floors?
Thanks, Sam. Helpful.
It actually kind of shows how badass the engineers are in Andromeda. They're like, oh, we can just pilot this cat ship. Just give us like 5 seconds. Oh, we're in. And I'm like, okay, where have you been the rest of my game when I've needed bridges made or I've needed to unlock this one thing? And they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll just land on top of the ship. Oh, this is nothing for us. Just give us like 2 minutes. And I'm like, look, where have you been this entire time?
It's very good. The conversation in this is very well written, very well designed. It's fun to spend time with August Bradley outside of the first colony, and like get to see the people of that colony now save you, right? You saved them, and now they are able to return the favor. The majority of this mission, though, after this point is a lot of platforming, combat, and trying to just navigate this topsy-turvy ship. And like we talked about it a little bit before, but like the platforming, again, is not perfect in this game. Again, it's a lot of the restrictions of the Frostbite engine to this kind of gameplay. But that said, a lot of the stuff in like the vaults and stuff is fun, and the puzzle solving is fun. But in this, because of the geometry they tend to use in the Ketch ships, it's just janky as all hell, and it's hard to navigate. Often I didn't know which direction to go, even with the waypoints, and like I would grab a ledge and then fall down, or grab a ledge and like my feet would get stuck on the floor. Like it just doesn't really work. I understand what they were trying to do, and I think the idea is good, but in execution, this is one of the harder missions to like navigate through.
Yeah, it was rough. I do want to point out that all throughout our journey through the ship, Khaled is killing people in his command when they don't immediately do what he wants. And I'm just like, my man, you're not going to have any pirates left when I get to you. You can't be doing this. Why are people still, like, listening to you when you were just slaughtering your entire, like, team?
If I've learned anything in classic sci-fi is that people will follow anyone. Like, there was an episode of Strange New Worlds that I watched not that long ago this season where, like, Commander Pike is able to turn the entire crew against their leader because their leader is an idiot. And it's just it's funny how that's like the thing that Mass Effect Andromeda has done really well, and Sarah mentioned this a little earlier, is it follows a lot of tropes really well and delivers on them. Like, and then also sometimes turns them on their head. And so this like classic leader who is incompetent but still in charge, it's like that's very much a old school sci-fi, especially Star Trek trope.
But I really wish I had gotten the opportunity to like tap into communications and be like, hey guys, you don't have to die. Like, between him and us, like, you don't have to die. Just decide not to support Khaled and leave. I'm not gonna stop you. Just go.
That would be a fun thing to be able to do. And then, like, if it's like I don't know. I could see it being like a Paragon check in the old games and like to turn them on their boss, which would be fun.
I mean, it would have fit in with like the dialogue, because while we did talk about that like Star Wars dialogue earlier, and I loved that, the response just kind of didn't fit it. So it kind of just like, I was like, where it's like, oh, everything's great down here. How are you? Oh no, they officially killed everyone. Go. And I'm like, you're not gonna like continue this? Like, you're not gonna like, because I mean, I would have loved the ability to be like, guys, he's killing all of you. Why don't you just like take a step back and think about what you're doing? But I feel like with them wanting to put that platforming in there would have been no real good like spot for that to be.
Yeah, it would have had to happen like right before the boss battle.
Yeah, and you just go right into that. There's no like leading into it. There's no like, you're running there, you enter a room and you're like, all right, we're doing it.
But yeah, I really would have liked to unionize his gang.
Yes, I mean, we should everything should be unionized.
Unions for everyone.
Yes, exactly.
You get a union and you get a union. Look under your chairs.
I wonder if the gangs in the original trilogy had unions.
If they did, Zaid would not have been attempted murdered.
That's true. That's a good point. You make a very
That
good
was
point.
a terrible way for me to say that.
Yes,
I have 2 degrees in words, and I'm gonna get a PhD. I swear to you, I'm smart.
I know. I feel like Zaid would have been Zaid no matter what, and I love that man. He would have just been who he is.
It's funny when we as we covered that trilogy, I fell more in love with that character. I didn't love his missions so much, but like him just as this like grumpy old man was fun, especially by the time you get to, you know, the Citadel stuff. That claw machine scene is chef's kiss. But so we're going through the ship. We're getting help from Augie and friends. Also, I love how like informal Liam is with August Bradley. Like, is there a history between them that I missed?
I don't know, but Augie and Friends is the name of August Bradley's Science for Kids TV show.
Augie and Friends, yeah, it's true.
Just so you know.
I mean, doesn't Liam mention playing cards?
August says, next time let's play cards. I can't with this shit.
I mean, they probably do something.
I imagine when Prodromos was set up, Liam was vibrating with glee, showed up in August's office, and was like, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Ryder is somewhere with Jal and Vetra. I cannot stay on the Tempest. What can I do?
You're probably right. I mean, it's fun and it's funny. It's nice to see someone of a position of power being so informal with Liam and kind of just understanding his nonsense.
Well, I think August had a military background, so I think that
Yeah.
probably helps.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, so we're making our way through the ship. We're opening some doors. We're reversing gravity more than once. And finally, the ship is right side up again, which thank God, let me tell you.
Please, yes.
And it is time to take on the boss battle of this and fight Khaled.
All the hostages are safe. They're escaping.
Yep.
Varand is safe. Varand does very passionately say, I would never reveal the things that you told me. I'm like, well, yeah, because you're a good person, Varand. Liam's just an idiot.
Lovable, but an idiot.
But yeah, Khaled, he sucks. I hate him so much.
He just yells constantly. He keeps saying, pathetic Pathfinder, just lay down and die. And it's like, you realize
No.
I'm winning, right?
I
Why?
killed all of your guys.
I don't know if my game glitched, but I never saw the like hacking thing go up until I hit that threshold, and it's like, all right, move on to the next one. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it go up. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm like, I'm gonna stand in this circle for however long, and then finally Augie's like, all right, move on. And I'm like, I don't even know how much I killed to do this, but okay. I'm like, you're telling me to move, so I am going to move. And then I killed him in like 2 hits because I was ridiculously overpowered for that quest.
Same.
And I was like, all right, there we go.
Pew pew.
Yeah, I was like, all right, done.
And like, Khaled's just a bad leader. In addition to clinging to this symbol of power that is just falling apart under everybody's feet, he decides to drain the power core to protect himself and just throw all of his guys at you.
The ones that he didn't kill.
Are not smart. You don't know what you're doing. You should not be a pirate. You should go home.
He is the worst pirate I've ever seen.
Absolutely terrible. Worse than Stede Bonnet.
Stede Bonnet is a good pirate. It's the rest of the pirate community that needs to learn a thing or two. He's a great pirate.
See, I feel like if you told Khaled get up and go home, you're just gonna make him depressed because they don't have a home anymore. You're just gonna make him sad. And make him even more angry and be reminded for why he's doing this.
Another thing, I wish we could have apprehended Khaled and just like returned him to Ephra and be like, can you do something about this?
Yeah.
Take him, please. We don't want him anymore.
Like, you also know that Khaled is much shorter than other Angarans on average. You just know it.
Before we wrap up this conversation, I forgot to mention one of my favorite moments in the entire mission. I think it's the second area you're in where you have to find certain panels to open the doors, like so they can hack. And while you're walking around, Liam just starts whistling. And then after a brief pause in the whistling, Ryder just goes, no whistling.
Yeah.
Like with no... With
and
no,
Liam's just like, "Aw."
And like there's no humor in his voice. There's no like jet. It's literally no whistling. It's so good. Such a good moment.
It almost makes Ryder feel like one of those angry parrots where it's like if you do one more thing, I'm turning this entire ship around and you're going home. But now they're knee deep in his problem, so it's like
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, there's no whistling, there's no laughing, there's chanting.
You are not allowed to have fun. you have ruined my Saturday.
But it's like, it's so hard for me to understand why she's being mean because at that point I had already kissed him. So I'm like, why am I being so pissed at him now? Why am I not being like, all right, I'm going to be mad at you, but I still love you, so I'm still going to help you. This is more like, all right, if I die here, we're done. Like,
you gotta keep him in line. Gotta keep him on his toes.
Exactly.
So we kill Khaled.
Yes.
Varand is safe. We save some initiative colonists that we didn't even know who had been captured. So, like, bonus win for us, right?
Yep.
Good job. The conversation in the conference area with Liam. Liam walks into this conversation basically saying, "You're right. Whatever you're about to say, you're absolutely right. And I agree with you 100%. And he, like, scolds himself for us.
Yeah, I like that he acts like a child that knows they're in trouble and, like, wants to get ahead of the punishment and be like, look, you're totally justified. I understand everything you're going to say, and here's why you're right. And then lays it out, which was very funny.
I want to know, did either of you turn Varand in, or did you let her leave with, like, Augie?
Oh, I let her leave.
Okay.
Yeah, I just let her leave, yeah.
Okay, I did the same thing.
I didn't even think about that. That was a choice. You could have, like, debriefed her or whatever.
It's a very weirdly worded choice because letting her leave with Augie, I think it just says something along the lines of, oh, let her join the colonists, while the option to turn her in is just, oh, I still need to question her. So it's this weird, like, you don't know which one is the right one. Yeah. I have terrible anxiety about these games, so I googled which one do I do so that Liam doesn't break up with me, and the game's like, oh, just let Varand go, and I'm like, all right. Like, you said you didn't give up any info. I believe you. You could just go on your way. And for him, what you were saying when he's like, I get it, it's my fault, I'm sorry, because I was romancing him, that scene made me laugh so hard because he's like, I know what you're gonna say. Please don't break up with me. Like, I'm sorry. You're right. You're always right. I'm just like, this just makes this so much better.
To quote my coworker Reed, "You're right. I am right. Thank you for saying that."
It's very good. And then you have a moment where you can either continue to scold him or like kind of be fun and loving with him. And I chose that option.
Yeah, I did too, because like he did all the work and scolding himself for me. I didn't have to do anything. I was just like, we did a good job. None of us died. That's the important part.
Plus, nothing went wrong.
Yeah, and I love that. Then after that, there's the classic like comedy beat of like, I wonder how hard it would be to bring this back to the Nexus, and then like it cuts to it exploding, and they just laugh.
Nope.
Yep.
I wanted Andromeda to have more of that comedy, not like everywhere, but like
Right.
sprinkled about a bit more. Because I love the comedy of that entire
I do too.
mission, especially right at the end when you just see the like see the flash of the ship exploding in their eyes, and Ryder's like, nope. Like I wanted more of that because I felt Andromeda was more of like a buddy cop film than anything else. So it's like having that buddy cop comedy and then be like, all right, cool, it's here. It exists for this 1 hour long mission that I'm doing. Now everything's serious again. Even when you talk to Liam after the fact, he's like, oh, everything went great. Augie helped. I'm like, you're acting like we didn't just almost like get squished like 3 times and you're not laughing about it anymore. Why? Where did the humor go? Where did the comedy go?
No room for humor. Must now be depressed.
Yeah. No, I agree. We say on the show a bunch that Ryder is just a friendly themboing their way through the universe, like stupidity first, just awkwardly making decisions with zero experience and
lots of finger guns.
And so like I agree, and I think that's why ultimately this mission felt so weird to me. I think on repeated playthroughs I'll enjoy it just because I'll know what it is, but at the time I was like, this seems so isolated. And there are moments of humor at other points in the game, but you're right, Sarah. No, there's no mission long moments. And like arguably the original trilogy was the same way, but there were moments of levity in the original trilogy, and then we got an entire DLC of comedy, right? Because arguably the Citadel is one comedy sitcom moment. But yeah, it tends to be isolated moments in the Mass Effect franchise. It's less longer form. I feel like the Dragon Age games, especially Dragon Age 2 and 3, have more sprinkled comedy evenly in places. And like I think that they were good, like they were easing into that with this, and if we ever got that DLC for this game and things like that, there might have been more of it. But I do wish there was more too. I think ultimately I did enjoy this, even though I was confused by it at first. But then I just let it happen.
You know that meme that's about the raccoons in a trench coat ordering eggs at the diner?
Yeah.
And they say 1 egg? And then, they go to 2, and that's a normal number of eggs. And then they push it by saying 3, and then they're like, oh no, I have to go back. That meme, that is the vibe of Andromeda for me. Because they're like, funny? More funny? Oh, that's too much funny. It feels like they're like kind of testing the boundaries to see what is allowed.
Yeah.
I almost feel like they took the comedy that was in Inquisition, because this came out after Inquisition, a couple years after, and Inquisition had some fantastic comedy in it. I will talk about Inquisition till the earth dies. Like, I love that game. I feel like they almost went, oh hey, let's try to do what we did with Inquisition, have the funny banter between party members, have funny like romance stuff, like all this. But then like Mass Effect Andromeda's story is so serious, like, oh, we're going into a brand new galaxy and we have to find a place for humans to settle, and oh, let's not think about the Reaper invasion that's happening billions and billions of miles away. Let's just see us fighting the Archon. And then you get comedy like this, and it's almost like kind of what Frankie just said, like, oh, too much, okay, we're just gonna back up now that it's done. Like, good luck finding this comedy again in the rest of the game. And it's like, yeah, because I just shot the Archon chick like an hour before this. And I'm like, I don't that wasn't really funny. Like, it's like out of left field. I dug it a lot, but it's just like, oh, I'm never gonna see comedy in the game like this. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think also the thing that Dragon Age has for it, especially in the second and third, is Varric is a good source to form the comedy around and is a key party member in both games, especially the third game. Whereas in this, like, Drac is funny, but he's not a comedic character. The moments are funny.
He has good comedic timing.
Right. And, like, in a different way than, like, Grunt was just a funny, aggressive, ridiculous character. Like, I think the problem in Andromeda is that all of the characters are presented pretty seriously. Like you said, Sarah, after this mission, Liam has had some funny moments, especially with Jal and some other characters, but like for the most part is pretty serious. You know, all the other characters, a lot of their moments are pretty serious. Or if they're snarky, like Gil is pretty snarky, but he's not a companion. He doesn't come with you on missions. So like, I think they let go of that balance in a way that they had in Inquisition. I agree completely. And I think that if they were in the next game, whatever that looks like, having a few more goofy characters or characters who lean more into humor might be great. Because I think the problem is the humor is mostly relied on Ryder. You can choose to do funny things as Ryder, which often I do because I like to bumble my way through this game. But if you don't do that, the story itself is pretty serious. And so I think that's where the difference is between whereas like the Inquisitor can be funny like that also, but even if you're not, Varric will make a joke. Varric will do something goofy or like make fun of someone, right? Dorian as well, kind of a thing.
I think it helps in Andromeda that we're not so strictly military. Like there is definitely a military influence, but it's largely a civilian operation. So there's a lot more freedom in having fun and being silly and goofy because it's not the end of the world all the time in Andromeda. Like currently it feels that way because we're just trying to find a home and like trying to not have genocide committed on us, trying to like not be the victims of a hate crime.
I think the game also tries to play it around how you play your Ryder, just like how you mentioned, Matt, because I know I have this whole backstory towards my like Ryder, like, oh, she's the younger sister who was never supposed to get any of this, and now she's the Pathfinder and she's dealing with all this responsibility while being silly. But then the game does serious stuff like shooting the Archon's right-hand chick. And it's like, and then your Ryder's like, oh, I did the right thing. I saved everybody. We just didn't blow up the thing, but that's okay. And then you have a character be like, oh, well, I have empathy towards your species, not like you for mine. And I'm like, bitch.
Oh, the Moshae.
Like,
oh, the Moshae.
I was mad about this because I was so pissed.
Yeah.
I'm like, bitch, I did the right thing, but go off. I guess. And it's just, it's the whole counter of your right, of you wanting to make your Ryder like that up and coming, like, oh, people don't think I can do this, but I can do this. So you want them to be kind of silly. You want them to be kind of young. And then the game does serious stuff like that. And then your Ryder has to answer serious or else being silly is the wrong thing. So it's like, it's this really weird balance that they're trying to go for. And at least with like, I just hate to go back to Dragon Age, but at least with what Inquisition did, your Inquisitor had sort of like dry humor, dry sarcasm to them that kind of fit that game's aesthetic. To where this, I love being silly. I love making like the Star Wars references and stuff, but then the game answers in a way that doesn't feel like it's easy to go back and forth, kind of. It just has that one serious answer, and then I'm like, so do you not want me to roleplay as the character that I've made this chick out to be, or do I have to be serious, or me being silly kind of ruining the experience type of, because it's a role-playing game. You should be allowed to role-play, and the game should answer you back in a way that doesn't take you out of the experience. And I feel like there's been a couple times in Andromeda, especially in Liam's mission, that kind of did that, where they're like, oh, now you can be silly, but you're still going to be answered serious. And it's like,
Yeah. You're totally right. I mean, we talked about this before. When we were making decisions as Shepard in the first 3 seasons, for the most part, we felt like us as Shepard, right? But Shepard is very capable. Frankie and I have agreed that we relate more to Ryder because Ryder is a dumbass. Well-meaning, but a dumbass.
yes.
And like just more relatable because they're inexperienced and we're inexperienced. And so like that has been fun. But on the other hand, because Shepard was a badass, when you switch tones like that, it fit because Shepard felt like they could do anything, whereas Ryder can't do anything. And so like it just feels more inconsistent in this game. The flaws are more apparent.
Hey, you know what Ryder can do?
What's that?
Their best.
Yes, that's true. Their best.
That is all I felt playing my games. I'm like, all right, my older brother's in a coma. I have to do my best, damn it. And my entire team is just like, you should be in school. And my character's like, no, I can do this. Like, I can save the entire galaxy and save this one race that maybe kind of hates us because of a dumb choice that I made. It's just, I I don't like playing the badass all the time. And I think what
Yeah.
I love most about Andromeda is that you're not the badass. Your entire
Yeah.
team are the badass.
Oh yes.
They're great.
Barely. Barely. Most of the time. They are a clown car crew of 6, and you cannot get them to behave.
Compared to my writer who is just happy to be there. Oh, badasses. And it feels so good to be able to play a role-playing game where you're not like God's chosen, or you're not like oh, everything is gonna go right for you because there are these like otherworldly beings watching out for you. No, I feel like if I fucked up, I'm the reason I fucked up. Like, my growing pains is me telling my brother that we haven't found anything in his coma, and now I feel awful for the next 7 hours. Like that is role playing to me. Not punching a reporter's fine, but like I am gonna feel bad about that an hour after it happens, and the game won't let me go apologize. I feel like if Andromeda lets you do that, 2 hours later you meet that reporter again, and there would be an option for a writer to go, look, I fucked up. Like, I didn't mean to punch you, I'm sorry. And that is role playing to me. I feel like Andromeda is just easily more of a role playing game than I feel the original trilogy was. But I feel like that's like sacrilege, and I feel like my Twitter account's just getting blown up with people that are just like, they're just like, oh, it's a role play game, and I'm like, I'm not a badass. I'm not. I'm a writer.
No, I totally see where you're coming from, and honestly, I first of all, we don't condone people going after our guests. Fun conversation is welcome. Chastising, not so much. But I hear you.
Criticism, fine.
Yes.
Being a dick, not.
Yes. But that said, I totally get where you're coming from. And I think, again, that's why Frankie and I have related to Ryder so much, is for a similar reason.
Honestly, I feel like everyone on the crew is just happy to be there.
Yes.
It's true.
Like, I'm just happy to be here. I got some new friends. I got to kill a cat yesterday. It's great. It was a good day.
I feel like no one wants to be in the Milky Way galaxy right now. I don't think anyone wants to be there. Again, that's that looming boss in the corner where they don't know that the Milky Way galaxy has either 3 things that are not great happen to it. They're just living their best life somewhere else. It's just like nothing bad's going on back home.
All right. Do we have anything to add to Liam's mission?
I love him.
We know. I mean, I think that I ultimately have come around on Liam as a character. I think also, as I've said before, all of the human characters in this game are leaps and bounds better written than most of the characters in the original trilogy. Though I've come around on Miranda, and I think gets a good result in the 3rd game. Jacob is poorly written throughout. Caden, you have to pay attention to warm up to, and Ashley has just done a disservice. Like, the growth that character should have had, she never got. And so Liam as a character, that I often think of that first moment with Liam that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, and he is a different person now. He has come around, and the anguish he feels about screwing this up is a result of the way he acted, I think, in the beginning of the game. And that's something I really see now. And so I appreciate him more as a character than I definitely did in the beginning.
Cosign. I mean, I have nothing to add.
Okay.
I do want to know, though, if you could give Liam a piece of advice, what would it be?
Slow down.
Yeah.
Deep breaths.
I mean, that's pretty much my same advice. Like, take a minute, think. It's going to be okay. We're here to help, but let's take this one step at a time. Like, I'm a person who is very anxious. I'm sure shocking to our listenership. And so, like, when I'm overwhelmed, my first thing I do is kind of like try and make a list or try and take a breath. Like, it's not always easy, but like my advice to Liam would be like, try and think things through. Your want to do good is important, but also doing it well is important. And just take a minute. And maybe make more than a 2-step plan. Like, think about 3, 4, and 5.
Approach me before making giant choices like giving out human secrets to someone, and then that someone gets captured, and now we have to do a buddy cop film to save them. Like, maybe don't give out Andromeda secrets to people.
My advice to Liam is please get therapy.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Also good.
And thank you. It's time for advice for a new galaxy. Advice from Matt.
Thanks.
That was good, right?
So what's your advice for me?
Try not to drive into the void.
I mean, you saw how well I did on the desert planet driving into
I'm just
craters.
saying, try not to drive into the void.
Oh no, was there a glitch that gave you a void? I didn't
No.
get that.
Our next mission is Vetra's loyalty mission.
Oh, interesting.
Do you have any advice for Matt?
Smooch often. It makes you feel better.
Smooch well and often.
And often.
You have heard it here first. It's not just good line, it's good advice.
It also just makes you feel good. That's my advice for all BioWare games that allow you to do that. Smooch well.
That's
and
my
smooch
advice
often.
for life.
Fair enough.
Don't
Can't
ask,
argue
don't
with that.
get. Anyway. Sarah, do you have a character that you would like to get an Ask Meme prompt about?
Oh yes, and I have chosen, because I just recently did the stuff, the man, the myth, the legend, that is Reyes Vidal. Because I have a bone to pick with that man.
What is something you love so much you'd commit a crime for it?
Oh, I mean, probably the fact that he's a hunk, but he's a hunk that would shoot me in the back.
Is that what you love so much that you would commit a crime for?
Yeah, I mean, if he kind of walked up to me and like pinned me against the wall, I was like, "Hey, I need you to go and steal this thing," and I would just be like, "Yeah, okay," and then hate myself later when he betrays me after I speech him in the wine cellar because I had the option to.
Matt, I know you don't love me enough to commit a crime for me, but what do you love so much you would commit a crime for it?
I believe we answered this already, and
I know.
I believe my answer previously was my spouse. But I will say that I would, even though you chastised me for a response that I made without thinking, which was my mistake, put me in Liam's camp, I would commit a crime to save you if I had to.
Aw, I'd commit a crime for you. And maybe I have.
Oh my god, my heart.
Okay.
That's like such a better answer than me just being pinned up against the wall by Riz and being like, "Hey, go steal this thing." And I'm like, okay.
If it makes you feel better, my spouse's answer is his mother's pecan pie. So, just saying. Everybody has their thing.
Matt's known me for a long time. That is not a surprising answer.
No, definitely not. I expected, like, you know, maybe Albert Wesker's sweet ass or Chris Redfield's sweet ass, any of those things too. But, you know, this is in line with those things. It's all fair.
I am also, like, weak for Vidal.
I
get it.
man, I forgot that he betrays you because I played this game, like 10 years ago. And I forgot that he betrays you, and it hurt again another 10 years ago. And I was like, God damn it, I fell for it again. I was like, why?
It's plot twist. And, like,
I'm like,
I have a lot of feelings about it. I would prefer Reyes over Sloane. We already had this conversation. Go back a couple of episodes and listen to it. But, like, I have a lot of feelings. And, yeah.
Really quick, though, I need to ask, because I was not here. Did you shoot him in the back? Because I did, and it felt fucking great.
I did not.
I did not.
Oh, it felt great. And the email that he sends you is, ew, it's so anger-inducing. He's like, oh, I guess I have a scar to remember you by now. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, leave. I was like, delete.
New phone, who dis?
I was like, leave me alone.
Exactly.
Oh, Reyes. I'll redeem you one day. But Daddy, I can fix him.
Oh, no, you're right. That I hate it because I'm just into the worst men possible.
Yes.
And Reyes is 100% in that camp.
Yep.
Embarrassing. I'm weak.
So before we do our outro, I just want to give a special shout out to Kevin Blood, who has been incredibly generous with us. He writes us the kindest emails. He donated to our general existence, which was very nice.
Yes.
I have shared with Matt because I'm a good person.
Yes. Even though you sent that donation just to Frankie, Frankie still shared it with me, and I'm grateful for that. And seriously, thank you. Like, anyone who buys merch sends us stuff through, Venmo or through wherever, like, we take money for the pod, like, it just goes back into the pod or us doing things, spending the money so we can make this and the things we do better. So thank you. Like, it's not required. We provide this for free, but like, when you do those things and contribute to the show, we appreciate it, because we put a lot of work into it. And so thank you for that, Kevin. It's very kind of you to keep writing. Also, Kevin wanted to point out it wasn't that impressive. He had done it over a normal amount of time, listened to the backlog. He just didn't write until recently. And so that was my misunderstanding.
I'm just always surprised when people listen to us.
Yeah, right? I mean, I barely listen to Frankie, so like...
This is true, which accounts for many mistakes he's made in his life.
Shush. Quiet.
I mean, I never thought I would ever be invited on podcasts in my life, so I'm just like so incredibly thankful that you guys would have me on here.
Of course.
Aw.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us.
If you asked me this like 2.5 years ago, I would laugh at you. I'd be like, there's no fucking way. And now I'm like, oh my God. Thank you.
Friendship.
Thank you.
It's the best ship. You see how I brought it back around?
Yeah,
at the beginning?
I see. Good job.
Yeah.
All right.
Earning that degree.
Uh-huh. The word's good. So that's it for this episode. In our next episode, we're going to help everyone's favorite spiky girlfriend, Vetra. I am very excited. That'll be number 2 of the 3 I'm deciding between for who I want to smooch. Still haven't decided. Stop asking.
Who's asking?
Nobody. I feel pressured, okay?
It's probably because I said smooch well and smooch often. So
Exactly. See?
It's true.
Sarah
partially
gets it.
my fault.
Also, thank you to our incredible guest, Sarah, known as Sarah of Mars, throughout the internet. Sarah, thank you for being here. Why don't you tell folks where they can find you, if you wish to be found, and your work?
Well, I am nowhere and I am everywhere at the same time. You can find me on Twitter at Sarah of Mars with no like spaces in it. I'm just a shit poster. I just like,
It's true.
I am horny on main. I'm like, all
Sarah's
the
a good
above.
follow.
Oh, thank you. I don't try, but I appreciate it. If you want to read my work, I am on moviephone.com. You can just search me and I come up. Next thing I'm doing is I'm going to be covering She-Hulk for them.
Nice.
I'm basically their like resident MCU person, but it's fun. It's cool. But yeah, you follow me. You can read my stuff. Reading my stuff means so much to me. So for those who listen and who do that, thank you so much. That helps me get more work, which I appreciate. So,
and we will definitely put a link in the show notes to that stuff. We'll probably hyperlink directly on Sarah's name to all of Sarah's writing.
I'll hyperlink you.
Okay.
Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, I know. Can we get on with the outro, please?
If you like what you heard here, please follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram, Facebook.com/ReignitePod, or you can send us an email, like our dear friend Kevin Blood does, at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at iHoardLibraries and Matt at DJ_Stormageddon. Please be proud of how smoothly I said all of that.
See, it's less impressive when you point it out. Just let it be.
I am very impressed.
It's still impressive, Matt.
Okay.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher if you can, because it helps us get seen so other people can find us.
We're also members of the Certain Point of View podcast network. You can visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on that very website and join in the conversation. You can even go over to Fun and Games and check out SideQuests, where Sarah had done an episode of SideQuests. And so you can definitely go check that out if you want a little more of Sarah on Certain POV.
If you're enjoying our Andromeda shenanigans, then you should catch me over on Archives of the Dragon every other Monday, even though we're kind of on hiatus now. But you can catch up on that backlog where my spouse, Professor John Bradley Lestrange, leads us through the wild unknown outside the Helios cluster in Andromeda. It's super gay. It's super fun. You can find that at twitch.tv/Arc of the Dragon.
You can also find everything that I do over at djstormageddon.com. It has links to all the podcasts that I work on, either host or edit or produce, as well as my merch store, my Ko-fi page, if you want to contribute to this or the other things that I do. Also, just as a heads up for folks in the New York area, I will be at FlameCon towards the end of August. I'm probably going to have a panel there with Jeff. The details are still being ironed out, but if you're going to FlameCon, let me know. I would love to meet up with you. I'm very excited. It's the gayest con in New York, and I've missed it. It's been a few years since it's happened. I'm very excited that they're taking it's low risk. It's as protected as it can be, and so it should hopefully be a good, fun time where everyone's masked and safe. So if you feel comfortable going to that, you should come check it out.
We'd like to thank Red Sphinx for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Caden Alenko. You can find more of his art at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
We'd also like to thank Carter's husband for not only developing our incredible show art for every episode of the podcast, but also for more amazing shirt designs that you can find over at certainpov.com or on the Certain POV Teespring.
Thank you to David Boyle for redesigning our logo like a champ. And finally, thank you to JT Music and Andrea Storm-Caden for our new theme music. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon.
And I'm Sarah. Good luck, Pathfinders. I love you.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home. Feels like
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun, whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.